We are seeing a sell-off on the street, and companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Alphabet are leading the way to the downside as the coronavirus fears drag on the markets. This comes as D.A. Davidson's Tom Forte says that Apple is, quote, the most vulnerable in terms of tech to the virus impact. We have Dan Roberts with me. And Dan, when we talk about Apple's exposure to China, just in terms of the potential fallout from the coronavirus, they're just one of a list of companies that could really potentially be impacted here.
Yes, but Apple's exposure is huge. Let's also mention, you mentioned a bearish comment, and there have been many from analysts, but just this morning, Warren Buffett was on CNBC saying he's not worried about Apple. I mean, he is super, super bullish. He said he thinks it's the best business they've ever invested in. Obviously, it took a long time for Buffett to warm to Apple, and then he took a huge stake. And I think, actually, if you look at the Apple story since last January, so a year and 2 months, I guess. Remember, Apple put out that warning about iPhone sales in China. That was pre-coronavirus. That was really more about trade. And then it managed to have a remarkable year. I mean, the stock soared. So it is vulnerable. There's obviously the Foxconn plant. That's kind of the least of it. And Apple sales, iPhone sales in China have already kind of been a concern here and there over the last few months pre-coronavirus. Now, that said, I think that Apple has so much going for it right now. I mean, it's hard not to be an Apple bull. Yes, it has climbed so high, but people talk about the 5G phones coming. They talk about the rise in wearables, the new version of AirPods. So, yes, on a day like today, all the tech names are down. Apple is down especially, but look, Amazon's down, AMD is down. They're all taking a hit, as the whole market is. But I think it's sort of like, yes, it's fair to be concerned about Apple due to coronavirus to an extent.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that you have to, where you're talking about just putting it in context, shares are still up around 70% over the past year. It's trading just around $300 a share. So certainly the stock has still performed very well over the past year if you have held it. Another company that D.A. Davidson talked about in this note was Amazon. They were just talking about the fact that Amazon sources a lot of their products from China, and that supply chain could be disrupted because of the coronavirus too.
Yeah, I think it could be. It hasn't appeared to be yet by that much, and I think Apple more so than Amazon. All these names are susceptible, and all the e-commerce names especially. I mean, all these companies that are online businesses that are sending products sometimes from China are susceptible, and Amazon does a big business in China as well. But look, I think that could be is the main part of that quote. I think we have to look to the next few days and weeks, because remember, for the last month or so, as we've been talking about coronavirus, and it's already been like more than I think a couple months since it first kind of broke out, we have talked about how, coronavirus concerns sending stocks lower, and then things rebound by the end of the day. Every day it's been like markets shrugging off concerns about coronavirus. So yeah, today looks very bad. Today is a rout, but today really the first day in a while that we've seen big losses because of coronavirus. And because of that, I don't know that you can necessarily freak out, panic, and apply what's happening today to all these companies in the next few weeks and months. Now separately, but related, a lot of companies have warned about coronavirus in Q1 on their revenue. Companies that have a lot of operations there. I mean, Starbucks, Luckin, obviously Chinese companies, Under Armour, Nike, but any U.S. businesses that have stores or do a lot of sales in China, it's going to affect them more than the other companies. But in terms of tech and the U.S. tech names, I don't know that anyone should panic yet.
Yeah, certainly. And then there's a lot of analysts out there, a lot of investors, I should say, that are advising others that they should buy on these types of dips.
Warren Buffett said it.
Buying opportunity. Warren Buffett even said
he didn't say we're buying. He said we're certainly not selling today.
Exactly. So you have to take it, put it all in context, and also just a wait and see method this morning. Dan Roberts, thank you.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.